Good morning, gardeners, and welcome to Monday, June 19th. My name is Catherine, and I created a show called Good Morning Gardeners, even though I can't grow green things because I am referring to gardening metaphorically. We're planting the seeds for a better day. We're starting our day by getting in the right mindset to cultivate a better life for ourselves, better communities, and a better world. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to add Good Morning Gardeners to your morning routine. I do my best to wake you up with positive and mentally stimulating ideas, but sometimes I miss things. If you have something to add to the ideas that I discuss, please chime in the comments section below. Today is Juneteenth. Juneteenth is the oldest internationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. From its Galveston, Texan origin in 1865, the observance of June 19th as the African American Emancipation Day has spread across the United States and beyond. The observance of Juneteenth is about the journey and achievement of Black Americans, from a horrific period of sanctioned enslavement to the pinnacle of human endeavors. It is a story of pride, resilience, and determination that will always be of historical and spiritual importance. You can learn more about Juneteenth and how to get involved at thejuneteenthfoundation.com, and I've put a link in the description of this video. So on Friday, on this show, we talked about the abundance mindset in the frame of wealth or money. And after I explored that topic with you guys, as I sometimes do, I continued to think about it. And I realized that I completely brushed by like a million other ways that the abundance mindset can be applied. So while you can definitely have an abundance of wealth in your life, you can also have an abundance of joy, freedom, an abundance of human connection, love, fun, fulfillment, power, an abundance of choices, or even an abundance of beauty. And yet there are many, many more ways that you can have abundance and have an abundance mindset that I haven't even mentioned. So if this idea sparks something for you that, causes you to realize something that you would like to have an abundance of, please let me know what that is in the comments. Something that just occurred to me is you could also have an abundance of patience. This is really important if you are a parent or, training a puppy. You can create an abundance of time. Actually, I believe this because even though we all, technically only have the same amount of time, you can create an abundance of valuable time by, structuring your days. And we have spoken about that quite a bit with deep work, culling your schedule, cultivating your schedule really carefully to focus on what's important. But anyway, back to our discussion on Friday. As you may recall, this discussion about the abundance mindset began with No BS Wealth Attraction in the New Economy by Dan Kennedy. I have been reading this book quite a lot recently, to be honest, mostly because I'm really eager to move on to another book in this category. I'm over halfway done now, so that's cool. And even though this isn't really a book that I would recommend, I'm not crazy about it. But I'm continuing to read it because I do come across little like gold nuggets of wisdom in here. I actually read one of these nuggets of wisdom last night in a very short chapter called Ask. Dan Kennedy writes, "Ask. This is even biblical. Ask and ye shall receive. And everybody knows this. You don't ask, you don't get. Yet a whole lot of people who know it don't actually practice it much. They go through life wanting all sorts of things they never seem to work up the courage to ask for. So they're unhappy in their business because they don't ask their clients, vendors, and employees. They're unhappy in their marriage because they don't ask their spouse. By ask, I mean a composite of things. Clearly enunciating your desires, expectations, and, when appropriate, demands. Asking people to do things as you want them done. Seeking cooperation and support. Even fewer people ask outsiders. I've found that it's perfectly okay to ask a lot from people. I ask people for information, advice, ideas, contacts and introductions, and all sorts of assistance, pretty much with impunity. I'm also generous with reciprocity and reward. I know a few other authors who are great askers as well. My friend Mark Victor Hansen, co-creator of the publishing phenomenon The Chicken Soup for the Soul series, is a phenomenal asker. If he meets a celebrity, king, president, athlete, CEO, anybody and everybody, he asks them for something, to somehow help him promote himself or his books or his causes, to introduce him to somebody else he wants to meet. You might think such asking would repel people and would wind up with you standing alone as if you had body odor. But the opposite occurs. The asking is magnetic. Actually, people, especially successful people, like being asked for their ideas, opinions, and advice, like being asked for their help and influence. Often you get more than you ask for. So that's actually all I'm going to read to you from that very short little chapter because, I think that says it all. It's succinct and it's to the point. And personally, when I read that, I thought, it's true. I am not really in the habit of asking for things, especially coming from a culture that has places such a huge emphasis on personal responsibility and independence. I definitely have a strong desire to be independent, but I do think it is important to realize and just remember that not everybody can, or most people can't do it alone. Everybody needs support and everybody gets help from someone else at some point in their life. And think about if someone asked you for help, how would you feel? Personally, I like to help too. So it's not unreasonable to assume that other people like helping if they can as well. So for our feel-good moment today, I want to go into Badass Habits by Jen Sincero. If you've already read You Are a Badass, this book is a cute little follow-up that's designed to help you maintain your good feelings and high vibes for at least 21 days. I like this book because it tends to provide more actionable advice because it assumes you're already on board with the philosophical foundations discussed in You Are a Badass. And today I want to start by reading you a portion of day 8, which is all about cultivating an ideal environment, or said another way, cultivating an abundant environment. Jen writes, "We are enormously influenced by who and what we surround ourselves with. Our environment can make or break us faster than almost anything. If you want to stop gambling and you hang out with gamblers at Gamblers Anonymous meetings, for example, you're much more likely to be successful than if you try to stop gambling and still hang out with poker obsessives and or at casinos. No duh, right? But how are you hanging? If you want to be happier and more optimistic, hang out with happy, optimistic people and pay attention to how they speak, think, perceive the world, and react when the stray dog they picked up along the highway chews a hole in their car seat. If you want to get into that habit of doing something every day to help the planet, put recycling bins next to all the garbage cans in your house. Go to and listen to lectures on climate change. Volunteer at your local community garden. Or join a park pickup day. Insert yourself in any environmentally conscious environment where you can not only help out, but where you can be around like-minded people who will give you even more ideas on how you can make a difference. Remember, you want to make your good habits easy to participate in Remember, you want to make your good habits easy to participate in, and your bad habits a pain in the butt. And making smart choices about your environment is one of the most effective ways to do this, because we are only interested in you succeeding at your habit, and not at all interested in you succeeding at being overwhelmed. Please start by picking one aspect of your surroundings in each of the 4 environments below and commit to upgrading it. If you have the time and enthusiasm to do more, go for it, but start with making one change in each area. And please write down the changes you're going to make. So after this, Jen discusses the four, different environments that you can make changes in. But today I'm only going to read about the human environment. She writes, pick a stellar human being who is currently where you desire to be in regard to your habit or beyond, and hang out with them on a regular basis. Become accountability partners or hire them as a personal trainer, a coach, a workout buddy, someone who guards your refrigerator and sounds a bullhorn every time you open the door. Or take a class, join a support group, or go to a seminar and make as many connections as possible. Extra credit. While you're upgrading your posse, limit your exposure to people who will knock you off track, tempt you to stray, or throw a wet blanket on your enthusiasm. You know who they are. Tell them you are really busy. So I think that I thought of this section of badass habits when I was thinking about asking people for help, because it occurred to me also that, not everybody will give you a good response if you ask them for help, if you ask them, for example, to respect a boundary. And you can really tell a lot about a person by the way that they respond to your ask. If your ask is coming from a genuine place where you're not trying to take advantage, and you're willing to reciprocate, and, you just want to do good things in the world, the person's answer, I think, will tell you a lot more about themselves than it will about you. So that's why I thought about the human environment. And when we can surround ourselves by, abundant people, and then that makes asking abundant questions a lot easier, right? So I'm going to quickly hop over to day 14 of this book, which is all about words. Jen writes, anyone who thinks words aren't powerful never knew my high school basketball coach. She could talk anyone into anything, including my 6-foot-tall basketball-hating freshman self into being on her varsity team. As someone who excelled at being neither popular nor coordinated, I was terrified to be around those older girls while putting my gangly lack of athletic ability on display. My skill for accidentally bouncing the ball off my sneaker and shooting at the wrong basket was of no concern to my coach, however. All she saw was a girl human with octopus arms, who was taller than most of Westchester County, adult men included. Rebound and pass. Do not dribble, do not shoot, just get the ball and pass it. You're our secret weapon, Sincero. You will make us state champions. Her pep talks also included such intoxicating words as star, special, and pizza parties. So in spite of my excruciating shin splints and the new nicknames I knew my unlikely sports career would inspire for my bullies, I spent the better part of my freshman year loping up and down the basketball court in my ill-fitting uniform, my bulbous knees knocking together on my skinny legs like coconuts. I somehow managed to make it through the entire season, and I might have let her sucker me into joining the following year had she not completely blown her credibility by convincing me against my protests that it would be a great idea to dress up as Big Bird for field day. Suffice it to say, towering over my costumed classmates as we marched onto the football field wearing nothing but bright yellow tights, a leotard covered in feathers, and a beak fashioned out of a traffic cone, was not something my tenuous social status could withstand. Having officially reached my threshold for humiliation, I finally became immune to my ex-coach's advances, and the varsity girls' basketball team wound up 2 coconuts short of making it to state the next year. I've also been talked into buying a gigantic television that I neither needed nor wanted. I convinced my little sister that my parents adopted her from the scary drunk guy who hung out on the deli wall in town, and most of us have, at least once in our lives, gone to a salon for a trim and left with a mortifying hairdo that the pushy hairdresser insisted would look fabulous. Watch your words and everyone else's. Your words anchor your reality. So if you talk about how lazy you are, or how much you suck at remembering people's birthdays, or how much you love that cigarette with your coffee, or how you have no willpower, so it shall be. Be on the lookout for the following phrases: I can't, I wish, I want, I will, I suck at, I'm trying to, and I hate. And replace those phrases with these phrases. I love, I can, I do, I am, I create, I excel at, and I'm so grateful. Notice any habitual ways of speaking and thinking that don't represent the big, badass new you and knock that shit off. And while you're at it, replace the negativity with opposing, empowering words and thoughts. Be intentional about the words you receive. If you're exposed to any toxic, icky, or bullying words that might throw you off track, turn off the television, put down the paper, close the document, remove yourself, ignore it, or if you're stuck in the presence of a negative blowhard, drown them out by repeating your mantra over and over again in your head. So, in light of what I've read today, the idea that I want to share with you, and you can let me know, what you think about this idea, if you think it's a helpful way to look at this topic or not. But this idea is that you are asking for things far more often than you realize. If you say you suck at something, you might be asking to continue sucking at it. If you say you wish for something, you might be asking to continue wishing forever and never have your wish fulfilled. And if you say you can't do something, you might be asking to be able to continue using your inability as an excuse. Of course, I don't think it's reasonable or helpful to exclude these words from our vocabulary completely. But for today's focus moment, I want you to consider two things. First, what are you in the habit of asking for? Whether from yourself, from the people around you, or from the universe. This habitual asking pattern might be verbal or nonverbal, so it's important to remain mindful and open-minded. Think like a detective and investigate the stuck points of your life. The second thing I want you to consider is, what do you want to be asking for? What can you ask of yourself in order to improve your life? What can you ask of from the people around you? And what can you ask of the universe? Remember Dan Kennedy's advice. Clearly enunciate your desires, expectations, and, when appropriate, demands. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I will speak with you again tomorrow.